Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ray Fay, and welcome to the channel. You know, my son wants to get a porcupine without quills for a pet. I think it's pointless. Today, we're taking a look at Lord of the Rings: Fate of the Fellowship by Z-Man Games. Lord of the Rings: Fate of the Fellowship by Z-Man Games is a 1 to 5 player game where you're basically, trying to throw the ring into Mount Doom, and Frodo and Sam need to do that. All right. Now, along the way, you're going to have other objectives that you're going to have to try to complete before you can complete that one main objective. You're going to be fighting shadow creatures. You're going to be dodging the Eye of Sauron. You're going to be dodging the Nazgul. You're going to do everything you can to try to get across Middle Earth and complete your objective. Can you do it? Well, we're going to find out if the Fellowship succeeds. So, let me explain how to play the game, and then I'll give you my final thoughts. So, the first thing you need to do is you need to get the game set up. Now, the rulebook's got a really great 2-page on how to get the game set up. I highly recommend just going through that. It's a lot easier than me trying to explain how it's done. But only thing I want to mention about that is one of the things you're going to have to do is you're always going to have to play the one objective to throw the ring into Mount Doom, but you do have to pick 3 random other ones. Or you can just choose whichever ones you want. Now there's, I believe, 24 different objectives in the game, so there's a lot to choose from or pick randomly, so there's a lot of variation. Okay. The other thing you need to do is you need to pick the 2 characters you want to play. Now, Frodo and Sam always have to be in the game. Someone's going to have to play them, but you're always going to have a second character. Everybody will always play 2 characters. That's one of the cool things that's different about this game, and that's why I like it. Okay. And there's 13 different characters to choose from. So if you have 5 players, there's still going to be a couple characters that aren't being used. But once everything is set up and once everything is done, then it's time to start playing. So how do you play the game? On your turn, what you're going to do is you're going to take one of 6 different actions. You can travel, and you're going to be able to you're going to spend an action to be able to travel. But how it's going to work is, of your 2 characters, one character is going to take 4 actions and one character is going to take 1 action. Doesn't matter which one does what, you pick it before you start. And the next turn, you're going to do the same thing, is which one's going to do 4, which one's going to do 1. So you can have the same one, just keep doing 1 over and over and over again. But to take the travel action, what you're going to do is you're going to use one of your actions, and you're going to move from one space to the next. That's it. If someone's in your space, you can bring them along with you. If Frodo and Sam are in your space, you have to spend either a cloak token to move them, or you're going to have to roll a surprise check to see if by chance Sauron notices you there. Now, if there's any shadow troops in the space that he goes to, you're going to roll 1 black dice for each one of those troops. If there's any Nazgul in the area, you're going to have to roll a dice for that. So you may end up rolling multiple dice. Now, the dice you roll, depending on what the results are, is either going to cause you to potentially lose hope, or it may actually send some of the Nazgul back, or if you're in a safe haven and you roll the right icon, nothing bad is going to happen. Okay, all depends. Be careful. Have cloaks. All right. Now, the other thing you can do is you can do the fellowship action. If you're in the same region, say Gondor, and you have a Gondor card, you can trade that card with another person. For their action, they can either take it, or if it's your action, you can either give it to them. But you have to be in the same location and region for that card. Okay. And you can't do tokens, you can only do the cards. The next thing you can do is you can do a prepare action. If you're in a safe haven, you can actually discard a card, and you can take a token of whatever the symbol is in the upper left-hand corner. So it's a way of being able to get more rings or more blessings or whatever, okay? Because you only get a hand of 7 cards, and you're going to fill that up pretty fast. And so you want to make sure that you try to get rid of those and you get enough tokens. If you're Sam and Frodo, you need to get enough cloaks to get into Mount Doom. You also need to get enough rings to be able to throw the ring into Mount Doom. So utilize that prepare action. But remember, you can only do it while you're in havens. You can't do it elsewhere. You can muster. To muster is if you are at one of the locations where I think there's the 4 different symbols for the different troops. If you're in one of those locations, you can discard one of the heart cards or icons, tokens, and what you can do is you can put a troop of that type in that location, and you're going to want to do that. Now the board's seeded with some originally, but you're going to have 5 off to the side in the board unless some scenarios change that up a little bit. And you're going to want to try to get those on the board because those shadow troops are going to be going all over the place, and you're going to want those troops out. So for every action, you can muster 1 guy. The other thing you can do is you can attack. Now, when you move, I think I mentioned this, if anybody's in your space, you can move them with you. But the troops that you have, the only way to move those troops is to have them move with you. Now, if you move into the space with shadow troops, no big deal. Nothing happens. You have to have an action to be able to attack them. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at the number of troops that you have, and you're going to roll a dice for each one in there with a maximum of 3. For every solid red symbol, a shadow troop's going to die. For every outline symbol, you're going to lose 1 of your troops. Now, if there's Nazgul in the area and you roll the Nazgul symbol, you're going to lose 2 of your own guys. So be very careful on that. If you can, hopefully there's no Nazgul in the area, and hopefully you can take out all the shadow troops. But that's it. You show up, you attack, whatever the results are, and you go 1. The next thing you do is you can capture. If you happen to be in one of the shadow strongholds, and there is no shadow troops in there, and you have one of your troopers in there, you can spend 3 swords, and you can turn that into a stronghold. Now, you want to do this for a couple reasons. One, it's going to get you hope, all right? And that's a really good way to get hope. It's kind of expensive because you got to get the 3 swords, but it's going to get you the hope. And you're going to get 2 hope for it. If you ever lose a stronghold, you're going to lose 3 hope. And you're going to be losing hope throughout this game. If your hope gets down to 0, it's game over. So it's a way of being able to gain hope. So you're going to want to try to get it and convert a couple of those strongholds. Also, if you can convert one of those to a stronghold, that's another place that you can actually go and do your prepare action. Okay, so it's very important to do that. Once you've done the actions, your 4 actions with 1 and your other action, your single action with your other character, all right, then what you're going to do is you have to draw 2 more of your cards. All right, what are they? The region cards. All right, so you draw the 2 region cards in your hand. If you have more than 7 cards in your hand, you got to discard down to 7. All right. If you draw, a Skies Darken card, okay, then you have to do this, whatever the Skies Darken action is. And honestly, I don't know why I can't remember these. It's not that hard, but when you do the Skies Darken. So what's going to happen is the first thing is the shadow is going to grow. You're going to increase the threat by 1. All right. Then you're going to look and you're going to see if the Eye of Sauron is in Frodo and Sam's space. If it is, you lose 2 hope. If it's not, you move the Eye of Sauron over to Sam and Frodo's space. All right, and there's ways of moving that around. I didn't cover that in combat, but I'll talk about that more in my final thoughts. Okay. The next thing you're going to do is there's a darkness, cover of darkness, and there's 10 Skies Darken cards, and every card is going to be different on where these 3 shadow troops go, and you don't know really what they're going to be, or hopefully you don't know what they're going to be when the game starts, but you're going to put 3 shadow troops out in one location on the board, and then you're going to take the discard pile for the shadow cards. You're going to shuffle it up, and you're going to place it on the top. Very pandemic-y. What you just went through, you're now going to go through again. So you know the areas, and you know everything that's going to get hit, but you don't quite know how it's going to get hit, and we're going to cover that right now. Now what you have to do, once you've drawn your cards, now you have to draw the shadow cards. Now, the shadow cards, you're going to notice the back of the shadow cards, they're going to have an advanced symbol, and they're going to have a reinforced symbol. The advanced symbol's up top, the reinforced is down on the bottom. All right. So what happens in the beginning of the game, you're going to have to do 2. You flip it over, and if the face down one shows the top banner for advance, then you're going to do the top of the card. If it shows the bottom reinforced, you're going to do the bottom. Now, the advance, what it's going to do is it's going to take shadow troops from one location, it's going to move them to a stronghold somewhere on the board. So what you do is you start at the stronghold, and you look at the color, and it'll tell you which line they're going down, and you kind of follow it backwards. As soon as you hit a group of shadow characters, you advance them forward 1. Keep on going, you advance forward 1 until you get to the very end, then you're done. If any of those shadow troops show up in a location with other troops, not your characters, but other troopers, little troops, a battle's going to occur. Same results, same thing's going to roll. You're going to roll a number of dice equal to the number of shadow troops, maximum 3, and you're just going to do whatever the results are on the dice. Now, the differences between these battles and you initiating a battle is if you initiate the attack, the Iosauron moves to your location. Very important. If the battle happens because the shadow troops move in, the Iosauron doesn't move. So that Iosauron is constantly going to be finding Frodo and moving to Frodo. So you need to make sure that you have other people constantly doing battles in some other region to get that Iosauron outside of Frodo and Sam's region. That's how you do it. Okay. Now, if the card happens to match the reinforced in the bottom, it's going to say one location on the board, and this is where you're going to be able to put one of the shadow troops, and then it's going to have the text on the bottom. You follow the text on the bottom. Now, that big giant stack of cards is going to have a lot of text on the bottom, but the thing is if I remember right, there's only 3 different things that can potentially happen. The Iosauron might move to Frodo's location. Nazgul are going to move closer to his location, and Nazgul are going to move around. So the same thing may seem like it keeps happening over and over and over again. Well, and that's because it is, because there's only 3 things that happen on the bottom of those cards. You just keep seeing them a whole lot. Once you do that, it's the next player's turn. All right. And this is going to go round and around and around until you complete all 3 of your other objectives. Okay. Then you can go complete the Mountain Doom objective. Because remember, you can't complete the Mountain Doom objective until you complete the objective or the other 3 objectives. But if you can complete all 3 of those objectives, and you can get to Mount Doom, and you can throw the ring into Mount Doom, you win Lord of the Rings, Fate of the Fellowship. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is kind of a high-level overlook of how to play this game. There's a little bit more to it, but for the most part, that should give you kind of a gist of how the game plays. All right. If you're familiar with Pandemic, this game is going to be very familiar to you. It has a lot of the same things. What it doesn't have is it doesn't have the overruns. I mean, you can have 10, 11 shadow troops in one location, and they just keep moving across the board. If that happens, you might want to go take care of it, because if that force ever hits you, oh man, it is going to be a reckoning. Okay. But the thing is once it gets to a stronghold, if it does convert that stronghold over or overthrow it, they may not be moving much anymore after that. So, well, the other thing to remember too is if you ever go to place a shadow troop on the board and you can't place one on the board, for every one you can't place, you lose hope. Okay. And hope is the thing you got to pay attention to the most. And that was one of the things that I find when I play this game that I kind of forget about sometimes. It's like I get moving towards something else, and next thing you know, my hope drops. Oh my gosh. And then I forgot to put somebody in a location, and yeah, we just lost 3 hope because we just lost a stronghold. So you really got to pay attention to your hope, and you got to make sure that you keep that up, and you keep it at a level to where if you do lose a stronghold or something, you don't lose the game. So pay attention to that hope. But what do I like about this game? There's a lot I like about this game. Now, I love the Pandemic system. I love Pandemic. Pandemic, the dice game. I love a lot of the games that have come out using the Pandemic system. I've really enjoyed. I have several of them, and I absolutely love them. The different variants of Pandemic that have come out, I've enjoyed those as well. Okay, they've just been a lot of fun. Pandemic is one of the earlier board games that I've gotten to. It's always been kind of high up on my list. It's not my number 1 on my list, but I always enjoy playing it. I'll never turn it down. It's a fantastic game, and it's a fantastic system. Okay, it's just clean, and to me, it's just kind of like a little elegant system. I absolutely love it. The thing about this one that I really like is I love the objectives. All right, I like the fact that you always have to that you have those other 3 objectives. There's 4 total objectives. Now you always have the one. You always have the one ring. Of course, that makes sense. That's the whole point of the game, is to get from point A to point B. But what's going to throw you off and what's going to try to prevent you from doing it this game changes. Every game is totally different. It's not the same thing. You're not always, oh, well, I got to go kill a guy in multiple different locations and then I complete that objective. Or I got to go do this and I complete this objective. You may not see that one. One of the things I like to do is I'll randomly pick my 3 objectives, but when I'm done with the game, I put those off to the side, and next time I play, it's 3 different objectives. Once I'm done going through all, I think it's 24 objectives, I'll shuffle them all back in, and now I'm going to randomly pick 3 again, and I'll guarantee you they're not going to be the 3. I'll never play the same game twice. I'm always going to be playing it different, and that's one of the things I love about this game. And the other thing about this game I think is just super cool is I like the dual character combination. Okay, you have to play 2 characters, and you're always getting 4 actions with one and 1 action of another. They have a lot of special abilities, and you kind of really want to try to play out their special abilities. If they got a special ability that's going to allow them to get shadow troops on the board cheaper, faster, somewhere, do it. You have to do it. If you got one that's going to allow you to be able to, do X or travel more or something like that, try to utilize that. Never leave actions off the table and try to utilize their special abilities as much as possible. It's key to winning this game. The other thing you got to really pay attention to, and I think this is really cool, is you cannot forget about the Eye of Sauron. It doesn't really do anything sitting on the board. It doesn't affect you on the board. But when those Skies Darken cards come out, that's when it really hits you. So you got to make sure you keep that eye out. So if that eye makes it back into Frodo and Sam's space, you either need to you need to get Sam and Frodo out of that location, or you got to go battle something somewhere in a different location to move that eye, okay, and get it somewhere else. Any way you can do that, you have to try to figure out the best way you're going to be able to do that. Try to move Sam and Frodo around to where they don't have to keep using all of the shadow cloaks. Try to move them into locations that don't necessarily have shadow troops, or hopefully, Nazgul, all right? Sometimes, if there's only 1 or 2 dice you're rolling, you just may have to take that chance. Maybe you're going to get lucky. Maybe the Nazgul are going to head back to Mordor. Who really knows? But sometimes you have to take that chance. You can't spend all those cloaks, because if you do, you're not going to have any cloaks to be able to get into Mount Doom. And it takes about 5, I think, depends on what one path you go, it's going to take about 5 or 6 cloaks just to get to throw in the ring. So you have to kind of save them up, and you're going to have to get the tokens for that. Absolutely love that. The components of the game, to me, are top notch. The shadow troops and the little troopers, they're itty bitty, super, super tiny. I'm okay with that. I think they're a little small, but there's so much on this board that I'm okay with the size of them. The Nazgul are huge. They're sometimes in the way, especially if you get all the Nazgul in one location. You get all of them in the Misty Mountains. Oh my gosh, there's so much stuff going on. And all those creatures are in there. You're tipping things over, you're messing things up, so you got to be really careful. But what I love about it, and this is why I'm okay with the size of those Nazgul, is as you're playing the game and those Nazgul are piling up, it's just, the pressure, you feel that pressure just looming over you. It's like, I've got to get this taken care of because this is getting bad. And you really see how that threat starts piling up. And they just look fantastic on the board. Absolutely phenomenal. Love the way they look. The characters on their little wooden pieces, they're silk screened on. I am 100% fine with that. I don't need miniatures. I like the colors. With the wooden blocks, I think they look great. Okay, love the components. Looks great. The dice tower. Even the dice tower is actually really cool. I love how it comes apart, fits back in the box. It's really nice to use. Okay, you have it off to the side. You got the eye that's always right there. The cool thing is if you win the game, you can pop the eye off the top of that and fling it like a frisbee across your room. But I haven't had a chance to do that yet because, well, I haven't won. I've come one turn away from winning, but yeah, I haven't won yet. But no, the dice tower is really cool. I haven't had a problem with it. I've rolled as many dice as I can down it, and they all seem to come out. They all work really good. You put it out of the way. It just really adds to the theme of the game. Absolutely fantastic. So I really like the way the Skies Darken cards are different. They're not all the same. All 10 of them, they're all the same except for where the 3 shadow troops go. And so when I pick my Skies Darken cards, I make sure I don't know what they are because I don't want to. So when that card flips over, some location, one of 10 different locations, is going to get hit with shadow troops. Now I may know what the 10 different locations could be, so I can kind of maybe plan for that. But it's really hard to plan for a random 10 locations. 1 out of 10, who's it going to be? And you're only playing with 4 or 5 of the cards, so you never really know. The event cards are, again, they're fun as well. Absolutely love them. The one thing that's really cool too, and I like about the shadow cards, is you do have the Sauron and Saruman cards. I like how they start in the discard pile, but once you get that first Skies Darken card, now they're going to get shuffled in, and those things are they can be brutal. Okay, because they're going to add more shadow troops to Mordor. Or I do like how the Sauron card, it's going to give you like a choice. You can lose a couple troops on the board. Maybe in this particular game you can muster a lot easier to where it's not that big of a deal. Maybe you're having a hard time mustering, you can't do that. Maybe you have to lose hope. Or I like how you get the option. You get a pick. They're all bad, but at least you get to pick it. And depending on where you're at that particular game, it's going to give you a choice. So when something bad's going to happen and I can get a choice of which bad it's going to be, That's one of the things that I actually really like. But super fantastic. And I'm sitting here as I play this game. One of the things I keep thinking about is, what do I not like about this game? And I really can't think of anything that I don't like about this game, and which is kind of bizarre. I can usually find something. I love the scenarios. And the characters. There's 13 characters in the game. They all have really unique abilities. They all play totally different. In a 5-player game, you're playing 10 characters. There's still 3 sitting off to the side, so it's not like you're playing every character. It's fantastic. I absolutely love that. I love the number of objectives you have, the look at the game. It's the play, how it is. This is just, to me, this is just a really super fun game. And to be honest with you, this is a contender for game of the year for me. I love playing this game. I love the puzzle at the end. I do a lot of solo gaming, but this is one I'm not really wanting to solo as much, because like the other night I was playing this with my buddy Al, and we almost won the game. But boy, I'll tell you, as Al put it, and I love the way he put it, he goes, I love having the little war council before we do an action, because we sit there and we try to figure out how we're going to be able to play this game and how we're going to be able to win this game. Him and I aren't in a big hurry to finish the game. Now, this game can be anywhere from 60 minutes to 150 minutes, I think is what they say. I think our game was 2.5 hours. But I'll tell you what, that 2.5 hours just flew by. But we had some really good discussions on what are the best ways to do this, and we worked together and we tried to figure it out. And ultimately, whoever's turn it was made the final decision. But it was cool. We got to do Al's, as he says, there's a little war council, and that's how we figured it out. So much fun. I will play this game anytime somebody wants to put it to the table. I will recommend this game to anybody that likes the pandemic system, Lord of the Rings. And if you like both of them, to me, this is a no-brainer. If you like both of them or either one of them, I say buy it. This game it's that good. Well, thank you once again for joining me today. As always, I please ask you to like this video on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on Facebook, on X. Please leave me a comment on any one of those platforms as well, and I'll try to get to those comments just as soon as I can. And also, if you haven't subscribed to my channel and you enjoy the content I provide, I humbly ask you to click on the subscription button and join my little family. And while you're there, if you want, click on the bell, get notifications whenever I drop new videos. Also, if you like the content I provide in this channel, I do also post videos over on the Discriminating Gamer. I'll have a link for that down in the details down below. I do unboxings over there, and I also do reviews on Cody's channel as well. So tell me, why do we use protractors in geometry? Because amateur tractors aren't good enough.